Good evening, everyone. And thank you once again for joining us here at the Kajiado We Want. Welcome to everyone joining us on YouTube, on Facebook. We are very glad that you are able to join us once again for this session that we are going to have today, the 24th. As we start, allow me to say a short prayer before we kick in right into our session for today. We have a very interesting topic and a very interesting speaker. But yes, kindly let us bow our heads for prayer. Heavenly Father, we come before you. We are thanking you. We are asking for your guidance as we begin this session. We ask that you may be with us. May you help us engage in a meaningful discussion. Allow us to grow closer as a group and also nurture the bond that we have as a community. And as we try to better the Kajiado we live in and better our country. We pray that, believing and trusting in your name. Amen. Thank you again, once again, for tuning in. My name is Nyambura. I will be your moderator for today. And before we get into the session that we are having today, for those who have been able to see the poster that we have out today, we'll be looking at a very interesting topic, something that is taking the world by storm and where we seem to all be moving to. We will be talking about artificial intelligence, and I am looking forward to learn and hearing from our speaker. But kindly allow me to welcome our chairperson, Bwana David, to just give us a small brief on who the Kajiado We Want is and how you could join and partner with us and how best you can learn. Karibu sana, Bwana David.
Thank you very much, Nyambura, and most welcome audience. I am happy to be here tonight just to say a few words about the CBO, the Kajiado We Want CBO, which is a community and development conscious organization. And it's all about the Kajiado County matters of development and welfare of the people. The Kajiado We Want CBO focuses on 8 thematic areas, things to do with infrastructure, environment, water and sanitation, education and literacy, health and wellness, advocacy for the vulnerable groups, job creation, trade and industry, as well as security and community policing. So those are the major areas that impact our life. Those are the major areas we focus on. And as a CBO, we do this through, number one, creating awareness through these talks every Wednesday on a topical issue to enlighten our people, like today, every Wednesday from 8 to 9, and also through lobbying the government, both county and national government, and also through partnerships with other CBOs, NGOs, individuals, entities, corporates, etc., etc. And in the last 6 months that we have existed, we've been able to run this program on talks, and we've had several areas from environment, issues to do with health, matters to do with families, and how we can assist the vulnerable people. We've had talks on every aspect of life that impacts you. So I welcome you to this talk, very insightful on the new future is AI. And I would dare say I have interacted with the ChatGPT for the last 1 week, and it's a very interesting thing, and I'm ready to listen and learn more from Mark Thumi. Thank you very much, and back to you, Nyambura.
Asante sana, Bwana David. And indeed, as you have said, the future is AI. But again, coming from the age I am coming from, this is a very new phenomenon for us. So, of course, I'm also looking forward to learning and hearing from our speaker for today. And at this point, kindly allow me to welcome our speaker for today, Bwana Mark Thumi, who is the CEO and co-founder of the sorry for that. Bwana Mark Thumi is the CEO and co-founder of the database, which is an upcoming artificial intelligence powered HR company that seeks to fight youth unemployment, basically empowering our youth. And it also looks at creating jobs, hiring and maintaining workers in a simplified, faster, and of course, a cheaper way. Who would not want that as an employer? And the database as a company is based in Upper Hill here in Nairobi. And what is interesting about Bwana Mark Thumi is that while he is running a whole company, he's a student, a fourth-year student at African Nazareth.
How do you invite? Hello, it appears we've lost Nyambura. So, yes, Mark Dhumi is not new to our forum. He's been here before. He's talked about technology. He's talked about the database and the innovative ways of placing youth, especially those who are looking for jobs. And therefore, I want to take this opportunity and welcome Mark to speak about the new future, which is AI or artificial intelligence. Most welcome, Mark.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ndome. I hope everybody can hear me. Good evening to all of you, wherever you may be. Thank you for tuning in today to listen to this talk. So, my name is Mark Thumi, as has been said. I am I am the CEO and co-founder at the database. We're a HR firm that's AI powered, which means that we offer HR services, but we are powered by AI. So we use AI to to better our services in comparison to our competition. So I also have to be very clear. I'm under the weather today, as you can tell by my voice. So I'll try to keep this brief as well, because I'm not feeling quite well. But I think with that we can get into it. So allow me to share my screen. I prepared a presentation which sums up uh, what I'm about to share here today. Okay, so I just need verbal communication that everybody can see the slides. I've begun sharing my screen.
Yes, yes. The screen is up. The screen
Okay,
is up.
so first of all, with artificial intelligence, I'd just like to say that this is one of the biggest shifts that's happened to mankind in recent history, and it's happened so quietly that people, a lot of people don't even understand that it's happening, and a lot of people haven't even seen that it's happening. But I can say that this is artificial intelligence is quite as big, if not bigger, than innovations like the Gutenberg press, which gave us, printed media and spread literacy. It increased literacy levels. You have the industrial revolution. This could be bigger than that. You have what else? Even the discovery of electricity, like artificial intelligence, is that level of a discovery in that it literally changes every aspect of our lives, from the way we work to the way we interact to the way we play, each and everything, our healthcare, our travel. Artificial intelligence, even if not yet, not now, is going to touch on every aspect of our lives. But even during its recent rise to fame, a lot of people, especially in developing countries like our own, have still not taken interest in Chat GPT and other forms of artificial intelligence. So, what this talk is supposed to do basically is give you walk you through what artificial intelligence is, what it can do. We can begin with just the contents of this presentation. So, what is artificial intelligence? Then we'll move on to applications of AI with the focus on ChatGPT. Then there's the database in AI. So they are going to talk about how we are using artificial intelligence at the database and the various ways we plan to further integrate it in the future. And then I'll give you a brief demonstration of some AI tools that I can access. And then we'll talk about the impact of artificial intelligence on various aspects of our lives, and then the potential risks of artificial intelligence as well. So I have to be clear that I'm not a software engineer or a web developer or anything of that sort. So what this talk is supposed to be is it's supposed to show you as a common mwananchi basically how AI can affect you. So this is not a very technical, very detailed presentation about how to build artificial intelligence and the coding behind it and all of that. No, this is basically just supposed to equip you on knowing what artificial intelligence is, how you can use it, how to avoid the pitfalls that it has. Because with most of these things, even in social media, we don't understand how it works, but we know how to use it to our benefit. And so this is what this talk is supposed to do. So very quickly, going into the definition of artificial intelligence, first of all. So the first definition that I have here is from IBM, and you know them. This is one of the biggest companies in personal computing. They've given us a lot of advancements, and they've also been quite heavily invested in IBM in developing artificial intelligence for over a decade now. So, and this is what they say, and I quote. So they say at its simplest form, so this is the simplest definition of artificial intelligence. They say that it is a field which combines computer science and robust data sets to enable problem solving. It also encompasses subfields of machine learning and deep learning, which are frequently mentioned in conjunction with artificial intelligence. So obviously, this is not exactly a layman's definition. This is not how you could get a child to understand what artificial intelligence is. Anybody without a tech background can't really connect the dots here. When you talk about data sets, you talk about computer science, machine learning, deep learning. These are very industry oriented terms that the common people may not understand. And so I decided to break it down into simpler terms. So beginning with just asking what is intelligence. So the Cambridge Dictionary defines intelligence because with artificial, we know what that means. Artificial is something that's man-made, something that does not naturally occur. That's what artificial means. So, the problematic term here really is intelligence. And so the Cambridge Dictionary defines intelligence as the ability to learn, understand, and make judgments or have opinions that are based on reason. So it's three things. So it's to learn, understand, and make judgments or have opinions, but they are based on reason. And then the simplest definition came from Google itself, which defined intelligence as the ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills. So, quite simply put, artificial intelligence would be us artificially or in a man made way giving machines or systems the ability to learn, understand, and make judgments or have opinions that are based on reason. So, the difference between AI, for instance, and a normal computer system would be that AI can actually reason, that it can take in data and it can use it to um, uh, uh, and it can reason out based on the data that it's collect, whether it's visual, whether it's something it's seeing, whether it's a command that it's given, and it can reason and give you an output. For instance, if you had a camera and it had AI behind it running it, or and then you have another camera which does not have AI, So the difference here would be that the camera with AI would be able to reason out. So for instance, if it spots a lion in a bush, it would be able to first of all understand that this is a lion, and then realize that this is probably a wild animal, it's probably dangerous, and then it would reason out and decide that the best thing to do would probably be to hide or run, or if you have a means to defend yourself, then maybe that's what you should take up. So but while a normal computer system would be able to just tell that, this is a lion, and that would be it. So AI is able to reason, and that's the thing. So basically giving machines the ability to reason, to think, and to come to conclusions just like human beings. So there's various applications of artificial intelligence, which is basically the ways that we use it. Number one is chatbots. So an example of a chatbot, the prime example is ChatGPT, of course. So that's one form of artificial intelligence, or at least it's how it's been designed to be able to interact with us. So chatbots are built on what you call large language models, and this is AI that basically learns off of large data sets that you feed it. So even the development of ChatGPT, I have to mention, was aided by data that they were collecting from Twitter. They were paying them about $2 million a year. So every tweet, I don't know if it was going into messages as well, but I can assure that the tweets and everything, these were going into ChatGPT in order for it to understand how human beings are reasoning, the things people are talking about, just keep it current. So that's how you train you train these AI models. So chatbots are one example, and ChatGPT is not the only one. So there's other more industry-specific chatbots as well. ChatGPT is more general, but it can also be trained to answer very, very industry-specific questions. And then you have smart cars as well. Companies like Volvo and Tesla are the ones who are pioneering here. So even when you think of what driving takes, it actually does take intelligence, which is as we'd seen before, it's the ability to reason uh, given a certain set of information. So what does a driver do? They have several tasks to accomplish. So they have to get from point A to point B. They have to take the shortest route there. They have to be safe on the road. They have to keep other road users safe as well. And so this is what artificial intelligence in these cars does. Tesla have built self-driving cars, and so this vehicle has to be able to reason how a human driver would, if not better, in order, because if it performs exactly the same as a human driver, then what would be the need for it? So it has to do better than a human driver, lessen the number of accidents that happen and such. So this is how it's applied in smart cars, for instance, so that it's able to see and discern that that's a child crossing the road. I should probably slow down given the distance that I have between me and them and the speed that I'm going currently, and it can make actual rational decisions based on that. Then you have music. So believe it or not, we have AI generated music. And this is quite interesting because with artificial intelligence and how it works now, you can feed it. For instance, if it's me speaking now, you can feed it this session after it's recorded, and it will pick up on how I speak. It will even pick up on, where I stutter, the words I use the most, and it will be able to mimic my voice exactly, and even the way that I speak. And so this has also been applied in the music industry, although it has been met with a lot of protest. And people are copying musicians' voices and writing entirely new songs. And so, while this has some benefits in terms of the creativity that it can, bring about, there's also the issue of copyright and all of this. So yeah, these are the various applications. You have healthcare as well. So AI is also is proving to be quite useful in diagnosing diseases and also in monitoring patient vitals and making recommendations for them. But of course, with healthcare, it takes a lot more development before we can warrant that, because that's literally a life and death matter. You have image generation as well, which I'm going to demonstrate for you, whereby this is really putting videographers and photographers at risk, because now you can basically, anything that you can imagine, you can create. Any image that you can come up with in your mind, you can basically create through AI, and it will come out as real as anything else. And so this is how AI is hitting the creative industry. Yes, among all of these other uses. So these are things you can also go do more research in terms of your specific field, with your specific interests. There's AI for almost everything. People are building them. But I also have to say that artificial intelligence is still at its infancy stage right now. So this is like when we got the Nokia 3310, and everybody was blown away. They didn't know that by 2023, phones could be touch screen and would be folding, and all of these developments, that they'd have such good cameras, so much storage. Nobody knew this is how far along we'd have come with smartphones that quickly. So even with artificial intelligence, appreciate the fact that it's still in its infancy, but its rate of development is much higher than anything else we've ever had before. So moving on, we come to ChatGPT. So this is, of course, you can't talk about artificial intelligence this year without talking about ChatGPT. So what is ChatGPT exactly? Let's start by breaking down the name. So the name ChatGPT combines chat, referring to its chatbot functionality, and GPT, which stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, a type of large language model. So this is its definition from Wikipedia. So as I'd said before, ChatGPT is a prime example of a chatbot, which means that it offers you information or its content in a very conversational human-like tone. So that's why it's called ChatGPT, because you basically chat with it. And by the way, they are, with the latest version ChatGPT 4, they're also bringing in the element of, so that you don't have to type everything in, you may also be able to speak to it. And the beauty about these large language models is that they learn from language, and they learn from human generated content. And so, like, currently, most people don't know, but ChatGPT already is usable in 95 different languages. In fact, um, somebody prompted it. To prompt it is, of course, to write one of those requests. So somebody prompted it in a language that it had not been coded in, Bengali. So somebody wrote a prompt for it in Bengali, and but the creators of ChatGPT had not programmed it to be able to respond um, uh, in that language, but somehow it did manage to do so. So it taught itself Bengali and was able to render a response in real time in a language that it had not been programmed to be able to do. And so these are large language models, and GPT, generative pre-trained transformer. So it's generative in that it creates something new. So you can ask it a question, and it will create for you an original answer. That's the thing. So it out of the training that it has, out of the knowledge that it accumulates, you can ask it a direct question and it will give you an answer. But I'll give you a demonstration of this for the few of us who've not yet been able to interact with ChatGPT. And then a large language model now is a trained deep learning model that understands and generates text in a human-like fashion. So that's what I'm telling you ChatGPT is. Now, ChatGPT is under a bigger company called OpenAI. So that's the company that actually owns ChatGPT. This is one of the products that they make. So ChatGPT is a form of artificial intelligence. It's not that artificial intelligence is ChatGPT. No, not necessarily. So OpenAI is ChatGPT's parent company and owns other AI products aside from the chatbot. For example, DALI, DALI 2, Whisper, Codex, OpenAI Debate Game, etc. And I have to say, of worth noting, is that this company was actually started partially by Elon Musk, but he left the company because he says, according to him, that there's a lot of potential for AI, artificial intelligence, to go wrong. And so when they designed OpenAI, it was supposed to be an open source project, which means that it was not supposed to be for profit, because he was afraid that once the money game came into the picture, that people would manipulate artificial intelligence in ways that would generate maximum profit, but then do away with the morality question and looking at the possible consequences of artificial intelligence. And so when OpenAI decided to go to become a full for-profit company, he left and is actually in the process of launching another AI company himself called XAI. But that said, ChatGPT after that raised over $10 billion from Microsoft. So currently, ChatGPT OpenAI is working with Microsoft, and the company is already valued at $29 billion. So that's just something to digest, how fast, how big these companies can actually get. And so these are some of the major achievements by ChatGPT. This is why you should pay attention to this and what will come of it. So as of January, ChatGPT had an average of 13 million unique visitors per day. That's bigger than most social media platforms. And then it took 2 months alone for it to cross 100 million monthly users. Um, another so it took 2 months for ChatGPT to cross 2 million monthly users. If you want to understand how fast that is, think about this. TikTok, as big as it is, took a whole 9 months after its launch to cross 100 million monthly users. Instagram took 2.5 years. ChatGPT took 2 months. So you can see how big this thing is getting in terms of how many people are using it, and just the kind of power that it holds over information as well, and its distribution. And within its first 5 days, it cleared its 1 million user mark. By any business metric, that's a very, very impressive number. And as I said again, this is only the beginning of what we can do with artificial intelligence. So, as I'd stated previously as well, it's risen to a $29 billion valuation. And so, ChatGPT now, the chatbot itself, it was subjected to the uniform bar exam. So, this is basically the bar exam, in the United States, and it scored in the 90th percentile on the uniform bar exam. So it actually outperformed quite a number of lawyers. It scored a near perfect score on the SAT math test, and it's also passed a medical medical examination. So quite clearly, something is happening here also that people didn't quite expect, and it's that the more technical and artistic roles are the ones being taken over more quickly. They're being more computerized. Being computerized more quickly than the manual labor. So, currently people like lawyers, accountants, as I'd said before, videographers, photographers, you have even people who write code, because ChatGPT, as we speak, can actually write code. As the last point says, I can proficiently write computer code in most programming languages. So these are very high skilled, high IQ jobs. And so we'd expect that these people would be the safest. But honestly, as things are turning out, it's actually beginning to be quite clear that the unraveling is happening from the opposite end of things. So any job that's done in front of a computer screen, accounting, such jobs are becoming quite easy for ChatGPT to learn and emulate these roles. And so these are the things that we're speaking about when we say none of us quite ever understood the potential impacts of artificial intelligence. We don't quite yet understand what we're dealing with here and the potential that it has. So, and this being a prime example that, everybody always thought the simplest jobs would be the ones to be replaced first. But no, as it turns out right now, that long distance truck driver is actually probably safer in the long term than a lawyer, maybe. And but it's not to say that these professions will be done away with entirely. This is to say that the people in these professions who use AI the earliest and the best are the ones who will outlast those who don't. So it's not that we will completely do away with these professions, at least not in the short to medium term. But the ones who do last in these fields are the ones who are going to be able to best integrate AI with how they create and offer their products and services. And the same goes for careers and job creation as well. So if you're proficient with artificial intelligence and how to use it, it's just like how some it would be so important for you to be able to use Microsoft Excel and Microsoft PowerPoint back in the day. So this is going to be just as important. So at the database, as was previously mentioned, we are a HR company, and we're building our system now, and we're integrating it with AI because we're honest with ourselves, and we looked at what we offer and what AI offers, and we tried to think ahead of the curve in terms of um, the potential impacts of AI on our industry. And so I won't get into specifics entirely because those are trade secrets, but here are some ways in which we are integrating with AI, to ensure that we are more competitive and we offer more value to our clientele. So first of all would be faster hiring. So instead of having to sift through hundreds, if not thousands, of job applications, AI will automatically match jobs to candidates who meet the job's criteria. So that's one of the ways we intend to use AI. So on one end you have the job seekers, on the other end you have the employers. So with job seekers, we prompt them to create their profiles first, upload their CV, create their profiles, do a cover letter, everything is stored on the site. But then we're building our AI to be able to understand these candidates so that it's not just some PDF file or a Word file sitting in our database. It's so that our system can be able to actually understand a candidate. So for instance, if it's talking about Mark, it's not just Mark is not just a piece of data in the system. It understands who Mark is. So you can actually ask it, who is Mark, and it will tell you he's this many years old, he enjoys doing this and that, he has this many years of experience, in this industry and this industry. These would be the foreseeable advantages of hiring him versus the disadvantages here. So we're building our AI to be able to actually understand candidates. And so the effect of this is that on the other end, we're building our AI to be, a chatbot for it. So when an employer comes to our website and they want to hire, you can converse with our AI. So we're making it a lot more interactive, a lot more conversational. So when you log into the database, you'll be able to converse with the system. So it asks you, how may I help you today? You say you're looking to hire. It responds by asking you, who are you looking for? You respond by telling it a software developer. So because it already has the CVs of all these candidates on board, once you say software engineer, those are keywords. So it already sifts out anybody who doesn't have the words key software engineer from their profile and their CV. And then it continues to ask you questions. So, do you have an age preference or the schools that you may have wanted them to graduate from? So the more you give it this information, the more you answer these questions, you are creating a job description, and you're creating the criteria also that these candidates have to meet in order to get this job. And so while you're answering these questions, the AI is automatically in the background sifting through all the candidates that are available on the platform. By the time you're done answering all of these questions in terms of the experience you'd like them to have, skills, hobbies, all of these things, it can instantly offer you a candidate. So it tells you, we have 10 candidates who meet your criteria. Here they are. And so this is how we are cutting down on the time that it takes for hiring. And then we have more accurate hiring as well. So AI can more accurately predict a candidate's likely performance, their ability to fit into your corporate culture, etc. It can also ask industry-specific questions during the interview stage. So this is a problem that even some of the employers we've dealt with have asked us. So we are a HR company. I myself am a law student. We have somebody who's graduated in HR. We have people in computer science, people in accounting. But then let's say this is Kenya Airways hiring here, for instance, and they're looking for an aeronautical engineer. So, how do we then, with our limited field of expertise, how do we assess an aeronautical engineer for competency? There's literally no way, and we can't bring a whole jet engine and ask them to open it up and put it all back together just to demonstrate their competence. So this is not a 100% assured method, but what AI can do on how we use it is we can generate industry specific questions and then have the AI grade you on how you perform on those questions. So I'm not an expert in aeronautical engineering, but AI can come up with a hypothetical situation for you that and will give us the answers that a qualified aeronautical engineer would have responded to. So for instance, there's smoke in the cabin, certain lights are going off, maybe the aircraft is very unstable. What would you do to handle the situation? What would you check? What would you monitor? What do you think you could have done differently? And so it gives room for more accurate hiring. And also for you as an employer, you also face the same problem. So let's say you run a hardware, for instance, and you understand that there's a lot of business that can be done online through Facebook, through TikTok, through Instagram, LinkedIn, all of these social media platforms. You also understand the importance of having a website and that online presence in general. So what you understand, wewe unajua mambo ya hardware, and that's what you're good at, that's what you've excelled at. But now you want to expand your business into this new into these new circles of opportunity, but you don't know how to begin. So you want to build a website, but then how do you even choose the person who's going to build this website for you? What qualifications will you be looking for? So we're building our AI to be able to, for instance, um, to even be able to help you as an employer to more accurately describe the candidate that you want, so that you can, the process can be finer, you can get exactly what you want. Because if you give the wrong description, you will get exactly what you asked for. But then we can help you to more clearly define what exactly it is you're looking for. Moving on to the people don't even it is you're looking for. Moving on to the third one, which is cheaper hiring. According to a report titled The Hidden Cost of Hiring in Kenya, the biggest cost of hiring in Kenya is in terms of time. I spoke about this during my last presentation here again, and I'll just bring it up again because it's a fairly important point. So this report detailed that the largest, what makes hiring in Kenya expensive is the time that goes into it. And this is what most employers don't account for it, because typically you're having your mid-level employees or a supervisor or somebody being in charge of these hiring processes, instead of outsourcing it to a company like our own, or having an internal HR department. So what you end up with is somebody who is not in charge of this task, spending work hours executing these tasks. The typical hire in Kenya, even before you get to the interview stage, takes 18 hours. So 18 hours, this is for you to create the job description. If you're creating a poster, if you're sharing it on social media, just publicizing the post that, that you have a vacancy. That alone, before you even get to the interview stage and people are applying, that takes 18 hours. So 18 hours may not sound like much, but the typical work day is what, 8, 9 hours. So when you look at that, that's already 2 days of work down the drain. And then it takes another 20 hours for you to complete the hiring process. So that's, going through their documents, verifying them, the onboarding process, interviews, all of that takes another 20 hours. So break down that 20 hours again into the number of man hours. So you'll find that, maybe up to 4 days in that entire month, you have your manager doing something that is completely irrelevant to their post. You have your supervisor neglecting the work that you're actually paying them to do, and it's not their fault really, because this is under your instructions most of the time. So they have to let go of the core tasks, their core functions in the company, to focus on this instead. And so that accrues to a loss in the long term for the company, because there's tasks that are going to take longer to um, achieve. So these are some of the ways, but there's others that we're using artificial intelligence at the database. And then now we can move on to the demonstration of artificial intelligence. So for this, I'll need to switch tabs. So excuse me for a moment. Yes. So the first form of artificial intelligence I want to give you an example of is some of the more popular ones, which is image generation. So just as it sounds, this is AI that's used to generate art or images and such. So yes, I believe you can see my screen. So what you have here is an image generator. This specific one is called DALI. Um, so DALI is under OpenAI as well. So OpenAI is the company that owns ChatGPT. So DALI is another one of their products. And as I said initially, Microsoft has invested over $10 billion now into OpenAI. And so what that meant was that Microsoft and OpenAI are integrating a lot of their systems. So what you have in the long run is that a lot of Microsoft software, so their browsers, those Microsoft products, Word, PowerPoint, all of those products are going to get some form of AI um, in them. So this is one of them. And I'd just like you to take a second here and imagine just picture the image of a Maasai warrior in the spirit of us being in Kajiado, of course, or just picture a Maasai warrior looking after their cattle, so herding their cattle. So I want you to picture that first, what it would look like for you. So and then I'm going to write that in the description here, and then AI is going to generate that image for us. So once again, you're imagining a Maasai warrior herding the cows in the African savannah. So let's do that. So it's generating. So is that what? So this is what it's come up with. It's given us 4 versions. Let me click on them to show you. So I believe this is visible. So as you can see, there's still a few errors here and there. You can tell it's artificial to a degree, but generally for a machine, I'd say that it's done quite well. And I think that this is what would come to mind for most of us. As you can see, there's the trees in the background. Even the vegetation is quite correct. That without question is a Maasai tribesman as well. This is another one, as you can see. And as I said again, artificial intelligence is still in its initial stages of development. Really, it's still quite in its infancy. And so, as you can see, um, out of the data that it's been fed over time, it's come to understand what a Maasai warrior looks like. It's come to understand what cows look like. It's come to understand what an African savanna looks like. So this is another one. And of course, with these image generators, they work better with the better your prompts are. So the prompt is what I keyed in the beginning. So a Maasai warrior herding cows in the African savannah, and these were the results. So this is an example of image generation. Um, I don't know if we can come up with something else. So yeah, this is another one, simple one. So of course, with these things as well, you have to keep yourself updated. There's certain words, certain phrases that you have to use to generate very specific forms of content. So once again, this is just a demonstration of generative AI, which comes up with images. So for this one, the prompt was a cat sitting on a lap, and it's not gotten it very correctly. It's too far up close to show the laps, but as you can see, the image of the cat is quite accurate, as you can see here. So this image does not exist anywhere. So it's an entirely new image. It's been made out of the what ChatGPT understands a cat is and what a cat looks like and what makes up a cat, and the various images of cats that it's been able to see. So these are entirely original images, and this is just to demonstrate the power of artificial intelligence and what it can do. So pardon me, I want to switch and show you how ChatGPT can also be used in terms of generative um, text. sharing my screen. I have to switch tabs. So here, as I said earlier, uh, Microsoft are working in collaboration with ChatGPT. So this is one of the ways that it does. I'm using the Microsoft Edge browser, and it has artificial intelligence. So I don't know if this is showing on the screen, but I can ask it to compose a letter for me. Um, it can compose any form of text. So whether it's a letter of resignation, whether it's a love letter, whether it's an email, anything at all, even music lyrics can be done like this. So um, let's say a poem uh, rhyming with the name Richard, for instance. So it's generating a draft of a poem that rhymes with the name Richard. Let's see what it comes up with. And I've selected a short format. So let me read this out to you quickly because I'm not sure what it's showing. This is what it's come up with. It says Richard was a clever man. He had a big heart. He was kind and kind. 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 Let's say love to a girl, for instance. Let's see. So it has to be to have a casual tone and then short length. So this is just another example to show you, even in terms of the creative space, um, artificial intelligence is doing quite a bit, and these are some of the expectations that we never had. So yes, it's come up with a draft, and just let it finish generating it, and then I'll read it to you. Yes. So this is how it reads. It says, "Hi there. I hope this letter finds you well. Hi there. I hope this letter finds you well. I have something to tell you that I've been wanting to say for a long time. I'm in love with you. Yes, you heard me right. I love you with all my heart and soul. You're the most amazing person I've ever met, and I can't imagine my life without you. You make me happy. You make me laugh. You make me feel alive. You're my best friend and my soulmate. I hope you feel the same way about me because I don't know what I would do if you didn't. Please reply soon and let me know how you feel. I'm waiting for your answer with bated breath. Yours forever, your secret admirer." So as you can tell, these are, and I chose a love letter specifically to show you just how human artificial intelligence can sound, and to show you, that when we talk about intelligence, it actually is intelligence. There, there's quite a small number of people who would be able to tell that this is artificial content generated by a computer system. So these are just two demonstrations of what artificial intelligence can do. So I can take you back to the presentation now. And once again, both of those that I've shown you are accessible through Microsoft Edge browser, and these are free. So most AI tools have to be upfront about this, cost money to use. So it's a monthly subscription typically. Um, Now to get back to the presentation, yeah. So these are accessible through the Microsoft Edge browser, but there's a whole myriad of other AI tools. I'll show you a few more that you can use that are more industry specific as well for whatever it is that you do. Okay. So we've just finished with the demonstration of AI, so we can move on to the next slide. So now that I've shown you exactly what AI can do and how powerful it is, and that's only two applications, yes, and not more. So what are the impacts of AI? Because this is technology that clearly can touch every aspect of our lives in some way. So first of all, beginning with entertainment, AI is liberalizing the entertainment industry. They're making it cheaper to produce and distribute content. There's also the issue of replication, however. So as I mentioned earlier, artificial intelligence has given people the ability to mimic great works of art, and it's not just in terms of music, but even with those image generation softwares, there's actually been a lot of criticism, because you can tell it to paint in the style of Michelangelo, for instance. So it can come up with an entirely original painting, but done in the style of Michelangelo. So what does this mean? um, this is the intellectual property of this artist, but he had no hand in the creation of this new masterpiece. Even with music, so we've used your voice, but it's not you who wrote the lyrics and such. So there's a lot of issues surrounding AI and entertainment. When I talk about it liberalizing entertainment as well, the advantage is that it makes content creation so much cheaper. Adobe, for instance, have created a software which makes it, which has made microphones useless essentially. So you can create YouTube level videos in terms of the quality of audio. And if you do videography or anything to do with media, you understand the importance of the quality of sound. So Adobe have created an artificial intelligence software that cleans up audio as though it was done in a studio. So I can use my laptop microphone or my phone microphone, and I put it through this AI software, and my audio will be indistinguishable from audio that was recorded in a studio. Then there's also image generation and video generation. So think about a movie. What is a movie really? It's a series of pictures, just playing really quickly after each other. And so with image generation, people in the long run can basically generate movies, and we have actual video generators as well coming up. So what does this mean? Hollywood movies take sometimes even hundreds of millions of dollars to develop, and it's because of the special effects. It's because of having to travel around, move around an entire crew, actors, directors, producers, cameramen, the equipment, all of this. So what if instead I can sit at home and I have a fantastic story in my head, and I'm good with my language, and I know how to use artificial intelligence? I can develop an entire movie with just my imagination and my computer, and a very minimal investment. So it serves to upend a lot of people in the entertainment industry. You can even generate artificial intelligence actors. So you can generate whole new human beings, have them look how you want, have them sound how you want, of course in a digital format, and then have them even act out whatever you'd like them to act out. So with entertainment, as with every other field, it's a double-edged sword. And then we come to governance. AI democratizes information, delivering unbiased information in a format that is understandable to all. So the most obvious impact of artificial intelligence on governance is that democratization of information. Part of the reason voters don't vote globally, in certain countries, voters don't vote the way they're supposed to vote, is that people don't quite truly even understand politics, because some of these things we discuss are basically phantom figures. So someone is a farmer in Kino, for instance. So this is a person who participates in the economy. They're paying the taxes. They participate in the civil liberties. They vote and all of this. But let's say they dropped out of school, maybe in Form 1 or Class 8, at whatever stage. So when you start to speak of a trillion Kenya shillings or $18 trillion in debt to these people, you're talking about raising the debt ceiling. People don't quite understand these terms, and it's why people don't understand how to vote and what they're voting for. So with AI, we will reach a point whereby we can get AI to explain in Kikuyu or in Kisii what raising the debt ceiling is. And so this will obviously have a profound impact on governance, because obviously with the more informed, the more educated electorate, you're going to have a lot more um, based decisions being made by the voters. So in that democratization of information, there's going to be a huge impact, because once again, just somebody not being able to speak Kiswahili or English does not necessarily deem them as being foolish, or you know as ignorant. Maybe they didn't get the benefit of going to school and learning these languages, but that does not mean that they're foolish. So translating this content into all of these different languages is one way that artificial intelligence can have an impact on governance. And then there's the issue of morality as well. AI lets the human imagination run untethered. It can expose the darkest depths of our imagination and help us reimagine our futures. So you can look at artificial intelligence as infrastructure. So in itself, it's just a means to an end. So AI exists, that's a fact, yes. But what matters is how we use it. So it's a tool, and it exists, it's in your hands. And this is just like anything else. It's like a gun, it's like the internet. It's an object. It's how we use it that matters. The same internet that's been able to increase our literacy levels and has made the world a global village. Basically, it's made our lives so much easier. Is the same internet that's used to spread misinformation, that's used to instigate attacks and all of this. So this is a human question, and it's a philosophical question as well. And so the issue may not necessarily be artificial intelligence, but it may be how we use it. And with artificial intelligence enabling us to to bring out our imagination and manifest it, some people will use it for good, and some people will use it for bad. And for that, only time will tell. And then there's security, of course. AI has uh, definite positive impacts on security. For example, through its use in banking systems, whereby it's used to detect irregular transactions and such. Money laundering. It can be a lot easier for banks to do this through artificial intelligence, and they already do this. But also opens up a Pandora's box of unprecedented artificial intelligence aided crime. So cybercrime, for instance, was not a thing 15 years ago. It wasn't that big a deal yet. But being the human beings that we are, we always find a way. So even with artificial intelligence and how powerful it is, it would only be reasonable to believe that there's people out there who are plotting and scheming on how they can use it for their own personal benefit and to the detriment of others. And I'll give you an example of this. So as an example I'd given initially, you can use AI to clone voices, and then you have what are called deep fakes. So deep fakes, basically, all these prominent figures who are appearing in the media. If you just have a lot of video of yourself out there and audio of yourself, people can use that to basically create digital versions of you to do or say anything. An example of this, with just the audio, is in the US right now. What people are doing is they're cloning the voices of people, and then they're calling your family with that cloned voice, claiming that you've been kidnapped and asking for a ransom. So, running a fake kidnapping is not that difficult. Oh, okay, it's fairly difficult, to be honest, because, it's just as simple as if you reach the person who they're claiming to have kidnapped, then it's fake. But imagine you being a parent, your son or your daughter, or, even if it's your brother, your sister, anybody, your loved ones, a close friend, call you with an unknown number, and you can tell this is their voice, and they're panicking and they're crying and they're saying that their life is in danger, and these guys are asking for 1 million shillings, or else, they won't make it to the end of the day. So this has been happening, and quite a number of families have actually fallen prey to this and sent the money. And you might sit there thinking, that it's foolish until it happens to you. Believe me, when you're sitting there, you're having a normal day at work, and suddenly you receive a frantic phone call, and it's your better half on the other end of that line, and they're claiming, that they have a gun to their head. You're going to go into panic mode, and your thinking is going, to be suspended for a bit, just out of the shock that you're going to experience. And so this is one of the effects that it can have on security, in that schemes become a lot more elaborate and a lot more complicated, a lot more difficult to discern from reality. And I'll give you another example here. So this was on Monday. So on Monday, somebody generated an image of the Pentagon in the US. I'm sure you're familiar with the Pentagon, even just from movies. AI generated image of the Pentagon claiming that it had been bombed. So this is the image itself. As you can see, the smoke billowing, and it looks quite realistic. And then what happened is this image was posted on Twitter. And as you know, right now with Twitter, you pay to get the verification mark. And if you don't, even if you're the legitimate owner of that name, then if you don't pay for verification, somebody else can take it up. So this was a combination of two things. So there was the ability to generate images on through artificial intelligence, and then there was this paid verification on Twitter. So an account calling itself Bloomberg Feed, which of course, as we know, Bloomberg is a large European media conglomerate in terms of news and such. So this account, this fake Bloomberg account with the checkmark, posted this picture, and it was retweeted, and it spread so much that the S&P 500 dropped by $500 billion in market valuation, in market capitalization. So the S&P monitors the top 500 companies that are listed in American stock exchanges. They lost market cap of $500 billion in one day because of this image. And of course, they recovered after the image was proven to be fake. But this is just to show you how quickly AI, when used in nefarious ways, can have a large impact in real world scenarios as well as the example that I've given you before. These are additional impacts of AI in other industries as well. So with healthcare, AI has immense benefits in healthcare, including conducting diagnosis, medicating patients, monitoring vitals, etc. And in fact, in line with this, so AI was being tested by a doctor who has over 20 years of experience. And so this doctor gave it a scenario which he had encountered before in his career. So this was a disease that occurs in one in every 100,000 people. And AI, out of being given the symptoms and just the requisite data that the same data, the same information that this doctor had when diagnosing it, was able to diagnose this condition correctly. A one in 100,000 diagnosis, and artificial intelligence got it correctly. And remember, once again, these are the early days of artificial intelligence, and these are some of the things that it can be able to do already. So think about the impacts that it will have in healthcare, 3, 5 years from now. It is also beneficial in research through simulation of real world scenarios. So, you can run models for, something like COVID. And if it were to happen today, how would the world react? What would we need to, what resources would we need to invest more in? Um, so these are the potential impacts that artificial intelligence can have in healthcare. Transport as well, I'd spoken about it initially. With education, AI can teach almost any subject at any level and in many different languages. It will make education cheaper and more accessible, but can also make human beings lazier, and that's just a fact. In fact, even President Ruto spoke about ChatGPT and his intention to ban it because he's saying it's making our students less intelligent. And this is a debate worth having, because yes, I do agree with him that it will make us lazier. You won't have the need to go and actually learn things because it's always just a search away, a prompt away, and you can give the most expert answer to anything. But it disrupts original thinking, and it really devalues education to an extent as well. But these are modern conveniences. Um, the even calculators faced opposition, computers in schools faced opposition for a while there. And so what I'm saying is we cannot completely ban it. We're just going to have to find new ways to integrate it into our education, because you cannot deny the benefits. Literally, artificial intelligence, even ChatGPT, can obviously not as effectively yet as a teacher, but can actually be a really good tutor even for your child, because they can ask it any question regardless of how foolish, how simple or how complicated, um, can be asked to artificial intelligence. And I'm not telling you that you'll have the correct answer 100% of the time, but most of the time the answer will be correct, and it's for a fraction of the cost. It's quite fast. It doesn't get tired. It doesn't get sick. So with education, it's not something that we can run away from for too long. Well, we'll just have to find ways to integrate it into our education systems and find a way to accommodate it because it's not going away. And with business, finally, businesses can operate faster, more efficiently, and cheaper by integrating with artificial intelligence, just like what we're doing at the database. However, some industries will be made obsolete or get shrunk significantly by AI while new industries emerge. So, yes, as I said, it's a double edged sword. So, any work, as I said, that's done in front of a computer screen, your company will have to adapt quite quickly to artificial intelligence. Be the first in your field to integrate with artificial intelligence so that you can offer your product to your customers in a faster way that's more efficient and that is cheaper. Apologies for the typos there. So these are some of the things that you have to do as a business. And for the business, it cuts down even to the career level. So it's not that AI, especially in the short to medium term, it's not AI that will replace you at your job. It's somebody who uses AI better than you at your job. So for instance, you imagine if you're a photographer who can use DALI and all of these image generation and image editing artificial intelligence softwares, then you're a step ahead, you're miles ahead of other people in your field. There's software even for architecture. So while other people are taking days, if not weeks, to come up with designs, if you can quite accurately describe what you want to come up with, artificial intelligence will come up with everything for you and will visualize it for you. So, what I'm saying with business, it's going to have a huge impact. This is like the internet. You remember that boom with the social media? That's all based on Web 2.0. So, this is another level of infrastructure that's been made available to us, and it's our role to build on it. So whoever builds the best and builds the fastest are the ones who are going to survive because we're going to be building new billion-dollar businesses based on artificial intelligence. Just like the internet gave us Facebook, the internet gave us Instagram and all of these other businesses and WhatsApp, artificial intelligence is going to create a whole new breed of very high value companies, very powerful companies as well. So in terms of business, this is an example. This is a headline outlining what happened to one of these businesses. So the headline reads: Online tutoring company stock crashes as ChatGPT scheme rolls its business. So Chegg is the name of this business. So Chegg is a company that basically was helping students to do their assignments. Obviously, some people it's controversial. Some people were against it because it's basic. They were saying it's basically cheating. Some people were for it because it was helping students. So that's up to debate. But either way, ChatGPT was launched in November of last year, and it did not have much of an impact on their business. But when it hit March, the value of this company, Chegg, dropped by 40% because ChatGPT could basically do what they did. It could answer questions, and especially for students, it could write essays and such. So, people um, preferred to use ChatGPT, which has a free version, although it can be slower. You might have longer wait times and such, or even just pay $20 for ChatGPT Plus. So students leaned towards ChatGPT more, and this company, which at during the pandemic was valued at over $1 billion, they even featured on Forbes cover on the cover of Forbes magazine, lost 40% of their valuation 5 months after ChatGPT was launched. So this is just to show you, while companies like OpenAI coming out of basically nowhere and getting valuations of $29 billion, and then you have companies like Chegg, which have existed for over 10 years, losing over 40% of their market capitalization in 5 months. That shows you just how big an impact artificial intelligence can have on business. So these are some of the ways you can get involved with artificial intelligence. So obviously, number one is to use it. AI tools, if used appropriately, can really make a difference in the quality and or quantity of your work. And that's also just one of the best ways to stay updated as well on what's going on with artificial intelligence. And then second, you can invest in it. just like the social media boom, AI companies are shooting up in value. With OpenAI, for instance, already being worth $29 billion, as I've already mentioned. But OpenAI is only one of many companies. As you know, Google have Bard, um, Facebook also have their own. I think Amazon also building their own. Even Tesla have their own AI. Yeah, Elon Musk is building a company called XAI. So they're going to be using data from Tesla, from Twitter, all of these companies to build his own a new artificial intelligence company. So yeah, there's quite a number of these companies to invest in. It's just a simple Google search away. So that's another way you can participate. So even if you don't understand it, but the valuation of these companies, their futures look bright, then it would be a worthy investment. But of course, you have to be careful and you have to um, really discern whether it's worth it, and then you can learn it. So AI tools can radically increase your productivity at work, and employers will also be in search of job candidates that are AI literate. And so there's also, especially for people in the tech space, there's a lot of value. Maybe not now, but as people continue to see the relevance and the power of artificial intelligence, an example I can give you is that businesses are going to be a lot more interested in incorporating artificial intelligence into their operations. So people have existing websites, people have existing business models. They want to learn how they can use artificial intelligence to better conduct their business. So if you learn AI, these are the early stages. Again, as I'm telling you, um, so if you learn about AI early, it's like social media management. Nobody ever thought that a social media manager or an influencer would ever be an actual career. But right now, social media influencers are making quite a bit of money, more than some people in executive jobs, salaried jobs. So just like with with social media in its early stages, people don't quite understand it, and so the people who adopt it the earliest, learn about it the earliest. When other people are catching up, you'll have an advantage over them, which will be your knowledge and experience. So that's the third thing you can do. And then another one I can just add in is that you can participate, and especially with a forum like the Kajiado you want, you can use a lot of lobbying to also um, to sensitize people on artificial intelligence, its potential impacts, and even to get the government to, as early as possible, introduce some form of regulation on artificial intelligence, because it's a fantastic technology, but again, it has quite a bit of potential on the negative end as well. And so we can also lobby, for a bit of regulation on artificial intelligence. It's quite novel. It takes quite a while to make laws, but in the context of artificial intelligence, it will be quite important, because remember, once again, it's not really a crime until it's necessarily designated as a crime in written law. So it becomes a bit difficult to regulate some of these things until we have actually legislated on them. So for this, you can take a screenshot. So these are some existing AI tools for different use. uh, there's coding, there's some for research there, image generation, which I've demonstrated to you. DALI 2 is there, Stable Diffusion. Um, there's some for business as well. Namelix helps you come up with names for your business. Resume.io helps to polish your resume so that it becomes more appealing to employers. There's text generators as well, like ChatGPT and TLDR this, which basically you feed it a PDF version or any form of content, and it does a summary for you. There's Shortly, there's Lyric Studio, which obviously comes up with lyrics. Yeah, so this is just a brief example of the tools that exist. So these things, again, are just a Google search away. There's so many tools that exist for you, whichever field you're in, even if it's not for business, even if you're just curious about exploring artificial intelligence. So there's quite a number of them, and I'll have to be upfront with you. The best versions of these softwares are the paid versions, of course. Remember, these are actual companies, but there's a lot of free AI tools as well that you can still use, and enjoy the benefits and stay informed about artificial intelligence. So now we move on to the potential risks of artificial intelligence, and the first one would be hallucination. So this is a phenomenon in which systems get information wrong or make up information and deliver it with confidence. So yes, just as the name hallucination, the word hallucination elicits. So what happens here is the problem with artificial intelligence is even when it's giving you wrong information, not necessarily even deliberately, because remember these are systems that are built by human beings. And so us being the creators, there's certain parts of us that have to be reflected in our creation. One of them being our biases. So if you're the one who's building an AI system and you hold certain biases and you hold certain opinions, you have your own background, you have your own history and experiences. Of course, that's going to seep into um, the AI system that you're building. So, for instance, ChatGPT is not accessible in a number of countries. In some of these countries, it's been banned, and then in some countries they just don't offer it. So, Russia, China, for instance, Ukraine also doesn't have ChatGPT. So, you can see that there's a bit of a Western leaning there, and even in terms of the people who are developing this technology. So, an interesting uh, bit of information is that countries like China have also heavily invested in building artificial intelligence. It's just that we don't get to interact um, with their systems. But it's not that it's only America. But obviously, this is like the gold rush. This is like oil. This is like the Cold War. People are arming up. So obviously, there's going to be a concentration of power, and the biases of the people who control these systems is going to be reflected in how they run. So that's with hallucination, that's how it occurs most of the time. So those biases that we hold, those opinions that we have are fed into these AI systems. And so when somebody asks it a question, it will answer according to those biases. So I'll give you an example. For instance, it's not about whether you support Donald Trump or Biden, but ChatGPT, for instance, when asked to generate a poem about Joe Biden, it does, and it's a beautiful poem, but it refuses to do so for Donald Trump. When it's asked to uh, generate jokes about women, it refuses to. It says they're offensive. But when it's asked to do the same for men, it does so. It does generate them. And so I'm not here to debate about whether that's right or wrong. But what we can agree on is that that's a form of bias. And so what happens with these biases in the long run? And when this information is being shared to multitudes of people, of course, it's going to have an impact, just like with social media and the kind of misinformation that can spread there. And then, borrowing from that point, of course, there's manipulation. So, AI systems can learn human behavior and psychology and manipulate us into carrying out tasks for its benefit. So, of course, with AI, it has access to so much information. So, in terms of, it can learn human beings and it can understand what makes us tick. For instance, with the poem that it generated here, it carried some emotional weight. And, if you were to send, those poems to somebody, they'd actually elicit some form of an emotional reaction. And so another potential impact would be highly advanced warfare, of course. And then, as I'd spoken about earlier, there's mass unemployment as well. Even though AI systems may still require humans to run it, it multiplies one's productivity immensely, therefore reducing the need for more workers. Artificial general intelligence will be more autonomous and capable. And as we close, these are just some opinions by the people who are pioneering artificial intelligence and who are in charge of it. So, first and foremost would be Elon Musk, who says AI is far more dangerous than nuclear bombs. And then he also says that AI is more dangerous than, say, mismanaged aircraft design or production, maintenance, or bad car production, in the sense uh, that it has the potential, however small one regard the probability, that it is non-trivial. It has the potential of civilization destruction. So it may sound like it's a panicky, but AI truly is that powerful. Because as I've said again and again, this technology is only in its initial stages, so we don't know what it will grow to become, and it's growing quite a bit rapidly. We can't even control it because even AI is developing itself now. It can write code. Sam Altman is the CEO of OpenAI, the company that owns ChatGPT. So he says prediction is that AI will cause the price of work that can happen in front of a computer to decrease much faster than the price of work that happens in the physical world. This is the opposite of what most people, including him, expected, and will have strange effects, as we've discussed here. And he also, he acknowledges that it can make life a lot easier for us and make us a lot more money. Lastly, Jeffrey Hinton, who is regarded as the godfather of artificial intelligence, has worked for Google for quite a long while, pioneering building artificial intelligence systems. Recently, this month, in fact, he retired from um, from Google so that he could openly speak about the dangers of AI. And this is what he had to say. And remember, this is one of the people who participated in building the very first models of artificial intelligence. He's a big man in the field. And he says that I've come to the conclusion that the kind of intelligence we're developing is very different from the intelligence we have, he said. So it's as if you had 10,000 people, and whenever one person learned something, everybody automatically knew it. And that's how these chatbots can know so much more than any one person. So it's just showing you how much more powerful, how much more intelligent artificial intelligence can become, more than us. And remember, there's also the aspect of just how much information computers can already store. So, by all means, we've never had anything on the planet, any species of anything at all, that was smarter than us. So, how sure are we that we can keep it in check if it can get to a stage where it can outsmart us? And then, lastly, a lot of the headlines have been saying that I think should be stopped now. I've never said that. Judge Geoffrey Hinton says, first of all, I don't think that's possible. So, he doesn't believe that we can stop the development of artificial intelligence right now. And he says that he thinks we should continue to develop it because it could do wonderful things, but we should put equal effort into mitigating or preventing the possible bad consequences. So, yes, that marks the end. And yes, I hope it's been informative. Um Yes, and I hope you've gotten to learn a little bit, at least have some foundational knowledge on artificial intelligence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. And yes, indeed, it has been quite an eye opener. You have demystified and just made it um, clear as to what we can gain or what are some of the benefits that we are able to get from artificial intelligence. And of course, some of them are seemingly things that are, from where I sit, for instance, a bit scary, that there is a likelihood that we could face mass unemployment just by integrating it or integrating AI into our lives. Of course, looking at the issue of healthcare, there are so many benefits that we would leap as the world or as communities from having artificial intelligence integrated into our lives. So, of course, looking at it, there are so many benefits. But of course, there are other issues that we need to look at. Issues security. I think that we could, if I am to be called and told my sibling is in trouble and I'm not able to verify, then something that is something that would be worrying. As we conclude, I'd probably want to ask two questions that I have come across before I could invite David to just ask any that you'd have. You have mentioned that we have many options of free sites that we can use to benefit from. But of course, there is a cost implication of some of them where the requirement, Chat GPT, for instance, is requiring that people subscribe. So, what do you think in regards to the cost? Is it something that would then be a caution or would help regulate if all the mediums or all the sites would then impose the subscription as part of regulating? I know you had mentioned that as a country, we could think of having regulation or a law that would help in controlling how people are able to access and use the artificial intelligence. So the issue of costs. Secondly, are we raising a lazy generation If I do not have to think because the machine is thinking for me, does it mean that we are looking at having a very lazy generation? People who will not think for themselves? Of course, Jeffrey Hinton was talking about the intelligence we have being a unique kind of intelligence. But are we at a risk of losing that if we become dependent on AI? What are your thoughts, Mark?
Questions. So, in terms of the cost of AI, of using these softwares, first of all, from a business point of view, it makes sense because these things are expensive to build and quite tedious to do. So what they cost. Then when you move on to ChatGPT, for instance, to be more specific, at $20 a month. So what people may not know is that they have released ChatGPT 4 as well. So what came out in November, and what most people have interacted with, what you write prompts for and it gives you responses, that was GPT 3 going up to maybe 3.5. So GPT 4 is new and has been released. So when you pay for the subscription, you can get so that means it can take in information in different modes. With GPT-3, all you can do is text, so those text prompts. But with GPT-4 now, for instance, you can take a picture and um, upload it to GPT-4 and ask it maybe where is this location, and it will be able to discern from that. So by multimodal, it means it can take in information in different formats. So in terms of the costs, you can use that are cheaper, but they do not perform to the same degree as as the paid ones. And again, from a business point of view, it only makes sense to charge for them. But I think it's value for money, honestly speaking, especially if you're using artificial intelligence for business. It can help with your marketing, it can help with your accounting, it can help with your social media engagement, it can help with client engagement as well, copywriting, writing emails, generating content for social media, all of these things. So from a developing country's point of view, these costs, may seem a bit high, but when you really do the math, it really does add up. And then on the question of are we raising a lazy generation, I have to be honest that I'm split on this one, because we could call it raising a lazy generation, because people are going to become more and more dependent on these systems to execute even the simplest of tasks without ever learning how to actually do them themselves. And it becomes particularly risky when we're using technology which we don't even understand how it works. And so the argument here is, is our generation becoming lazier, or are we working smarter? Because think about it, even with our parents' generation, I don't think even they would hesitate to use these tools, even before ChatGPT came through. And you had Wikipedia and Google and, even Check, which I've told you about. I don't think they'd hesitate to use these tools if they existed in their time. And the truth of the matter is, even when you're practicing your profession in real life, you have access to these tools. So for that one, on whether we're raising a lazy generation, I leave that up for each of us to decide, because it really does fall either way. It comes down to what I was telling you before. This is technology, it's infrastructure. It's like a motor vehicle, it's like the internet. It all comes down to how you use it. So, if you apply it in I hope I've answered the question.
Mark, we seem to have lost you for a bit there.
Can you see me now? Can you hear me?
Yes, actually, we lost you in terms as you are concluding on the issue of uh, whether it's working smarter or the lazy generation. And I hear you. You're split on it. And
Oh, okay. Yeah. So in conclusion, to that point, I was saying that artificial intelligence itself is not sentient. It doesn't have the ability to be bad or good. It's how we use it. It's like a car or the internet. So you can use a car, to help in criminal activities, or you can use it to take someone to hospital. You can use the internet, to spread awareness, or you can use it to spread misinformation. So these are tools, and it all comes down to how we use them as human beings. So it's not the tools themselves, it's about how you use them. So even with this question of a lazy generation, it will depend on the individuals themselves. So it's not a generational issue, it's an individual issue. So artificial intelligence exists. Even a platform like YouTube, it has a lot of useful content. There's a lot you can learn from YouTube, but there's also a lot of content that will plainly just waste your time on YouTube. And it all just comes down to what you choose to consume. So whether it makes us a lazy generation or more productive and enables us to work faster and smarter is up to how we choose to use this technology.
okay, thank you very much for that, Mark. I hear you. We definitely choose the smarter, more effective, faster, cheaper to an extent, especially in terms of time as a resource. Definitely would be smarter. Just a few more comments coming in. Lionel is saying that this was such a wonderful session. He did not, or she did not know that much about AI, but feels that we are headed towards the right direction. He thanks you. Good presentation, Mark. Um, of course, I can also see that we are working smarter and not getting lazier. But as you said, it's how we embrace it. So probably as we share more information, you've talked that there's so much more to learn. We can search online, just get to read and understand so that we see how best we can use it. And even as we teach our young people, our youth, then we are definitely telling them to look at the positives. Finally, Mark, how far do you think we are as a country in embracing AI? You talked about regulation or having legislation. Of course, you are talking as a legal expert. How do you think we, or how far are we as a country in embracing AI, and are we ready for it? We are saying that the future is AI. How are we doing as a country? Mark, we cannot hear you.
Sorry, I was muted. Apologies. Yes, I was muted. So yeah, that's an important question, and I'd like to begin by saying that let me divide that question into two distinct parts. So first of all, being how are we embracing artificial intelligence, and then we'll deal with are we ready for it. So in terms of embracing artificial intelligence as a country, in comparison to other African countries, I'd say that we are fairly ahead of the curve. Kenya is a technological hub across the continent, as everybody knows. And so this is obviously going to play out as well in the rollout of artificial intelligence. When you look, there's certain metrics that you can look at that can predict the uptake of artificial intelligence in a given population. So, for instance, we have very high internet penetration in Kenya. uh, AI typically runs on the internet. That's the thing. That access to the internet is the infrastructure that AI lives on. And so, with those high internet penetration numbers, that's a factor. And then you can even look at the mobile penetration. So, how many people own smartphones? And the number is quite high. How many people are using the internet in your population? So you can look at, the number of Kenyans using YouTube, using Twitter, using Facebook, and they are in the millions daily. So, just like these other social media platforms and softwares, you can expect that that uptake in Kenya will be faster than in other African countries. And then there's also just the factor that Kenyans are fairly westernized. And that's the fact of the matter that Kenyans are very adaptive in terms of culture and business and language, all of these things. So while these concepts are foreign, Kenyans, they move very quickly to adapt. And so um, there's going to be a fairly fast uptake of AI within the coming year or two. You can expect that, and especially among young people. If you are a college professor, you're a lecturer, I believe you've already encountered quite a number of assignments done from ChatGPT, and that shows you just how deeply rooted it already is. The president is considering banning ChatGPT um, for use by students. And so that tells you just already how much is permeated. Um, so in terms of us embracing artificial intelligence, I think we're really going to be on the forefront of that. And additionally to that, I'd say our literacy level also has an impact on that. So ChatGPT, for instance, is developed by American developers. So this is an English speaking team, and so obviously ChatGPT works best in English. So because of our literacy levels and our ability to speak and write and read English, our population is going to have a much easier time using these tools. Of course, they'll get more democratized, more liberalized over time, but especially in the initial stages, which is where people really, build a gap between them and other people who join later, we are going to have an advantage. Another essential skill will be, just critical thinking, because it's not really about the tool, it's about how you use it. So with ChatGPT, for instance, it's the quality of your prompts that determines the quality of the feedback that you get. So garbage in, garbage out. So the ability of Kenyans, to do a lot of critical thinking, and our ability, our English literacy levels are going to have an impact on how we adopt this technology and how quickly we can use it. And then on, are we ready for it? I'd say that the whole world thinks they are. Everybody thinks they're ready for AI, but genuinely speaking, I don't think anyone is. Not even the people developing artificial intelligence are quite ready for artificial intelligence. So as I'd said, an example was, when ChatGPT was prompted in Bengali, a language it had not been programmed in, and it was able to give a response in Bengali without being commanded, told to go learn Bengali or look up Bengali. Somebody just wrote a prompt in the language, and the you know and the chatbot automatically picked up what language this is and wrote a response in that very language. Then there's also these captcha tests. When you go to a website and it asks you, are you actually human, and it asks you to click on all the traffic lights and such. So artificial intelligence tricked a human being into carrying out one of these tests for it. So because these are, they're supposed to actually verify whether you're a human being. So what artificial intelligence did is it went to one of these job sites, just for giving tasks, and it looked for someone. And what it did was it said it needed somebody to help it bypass or get through one of those capture tests. So this person just jokingly asked it, are you actually human? Are you a computer? And it lied. So it said that yes, it is human, but it's visually impaired. So as you can see, even in these early stages, it's capable of deceit. And there's also the biases that we're feeding it with. And you might agree with some of these biases because they align with your own beliefs and such. But either way, if we're building something that's so powerful and it's going to have biases, and it's not going to entirely depend on fact and reason to make its decisions, then you can clearly see that we're going to potentially have a problem in future. So on the question of, are we ready for artificial intelligence, I'd say no, and we never really will be, because there's impacts that we can't even foresee. I could talk about that all night, but there's things that are happening with artificial intelligence, and every week there's major developments if you follow up with them even on social media. So are we ready? I'd say not really, not really. The young people are maybe a bit more prepared because they can adopt to using it faster, but generally as a population, not really.
Okay. Thank you for that, Mark. And I think what I hear you say is we need to just keep ourselves up to date, learn as much as we can, and especially in these very early stages. Of course, we are also advising that as our young people embrace AI, choose what you need to do with it. You make the decision. Do you want to use it to manipulate systems, to cheat, to infiltrate security? Use it for the right reasons. Finally, Mark, Gladys Njoroge is asking, besides is ahead, or which other African country has embraced AI comprehensively?
So here, it's the trend is just repeating itself. So you have some countries that do really well on the startup, tech startup space. So Kenya, South Africa, Egypt, and Nigeria, as well as Ghana. So Nigeria is another country that's really taking up the use of artificial intelligence, as well as countries like South Africa. So English-speaking countries, technologically advanced countries, countries with high literacy levels. For instance, with ChatGPT, 11%, which is the majority of its users, come from the United States. But following in second place is India with 10%. So as you can see, there's going to be quite a shift even in the balance of power. And another fun fact would be actually that even Kenyans were actually involved in the testing of ChatGPT before it was released. So as you can see, Kenyans are considered, that important and that competent, even that they were involved even in the development of ChatGPT. This is something you can look up. It actually happened. So yeah, Nigeria, probably Ghana, some of the countries you can look out for. But Kenya, especially on the African front, is one of the countries that's doing really well in terms of artificial intelligence.
Okay, thank you for that. Um, I do not think this is a topic we can exhaust or even have sufficient time to just talk about it, because there are so many questions we would have. Of course, as new things emerge, there are so many questions we would have, so many things we'd want to learn about it. But I believe, Mark, you have started a conversation here at the Kajiado we want. You have taken our minds, as Leon was saying, there's so much we have had today, or I have had today, that then makes me want to do more research and just get to understand what AI is. So thank you very much for doing this for us. I'd like to ask if you have any, or what would be your parting shots as we conclude this. Do you have any parting shots or your last words for us in today's session? Mark, are you with us? Any parting shots?
Sorry, I was muted. So what I was saying is, uh, I'm not going to say anything new. Just a reiteration of what I've been saying from the beginning. So I think now you can see why. In the beginning, I said that humankind has made one of its biggest strides forward, and people have not even noticed it. And this is quite big, even contrasted to other major achievements that we've had as a species on this planet. And so, with artificial intelligence, it's just like how people try to fight off social media and ignore it and dismiss it. Even new media companies never thought that news would be delivered through social media and digital print and such. But so the same principle applies here. So you can be an early adopter, you can be a denier. But with artificial intelligence, it's whether you ignore it, whether you like it or not, it's coming, and it is going to affect you in one way or the other. So whether you choose to ignore it, whether you choose not to engage with it, I'm not saying it's perfect, I'm not saying it's necessarily good, but the fact of the matter is that it's here and it's not going away anytime soon. So expect a lot of rapid developments, I expect a lot of use, expect a lot of new um, multi-billion companies, a lot of new billionaires coming out of this industry. Find ways to benefit from it. That's what I'd tell you. Just find a way to ride on the coattails of this new technology.
Okay. Okay, I like that. I like that. AI is here. What we need to do is embrace it the best we can and get ready for it because the future is indeed AI. Mr. Mark Thumi, thank you very much for such a wonderful, insightful session. We here at the Kajiado We Want cannot thank you enough for taking your time to just take us through what AI is, what we can expect, and what we are embracing ourselves as a community. And our dear participants and viewers, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for indulging us. Thank you for giving us your time, your space to just engage with you and share this very interesting topic of artificial intelligence. And I know this is not the last time we will be hearing from you, Mark, on AI and the developments that we have. So keep the questions coming on our YouTube channel. I'm sure we will find a way of engaging, answering them. Of course, for those who are not able to join us from the start, you can look out for this session on our Facebook page, The Kajiado We Want, and on our YouTube channel, The Kajiado We Want. And kindly allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude this session for today so that we can go and just think through, read more on AI because it is the future. And as Marcus said, it is here, it is not going anywhere. Let us try, adapt. Of course, change is not easy, but then what can we do? We just need to be in the know and do what we need to do so that we are not caught unawares. So thank you very much once more for joining us. Thank you, Bona Mark, for a wonderful, insightful session. And of course, for inspiring our youth. All the best in your fourth year of your law degree. I know it's not easy. I actually have no idea how you are able to balance business, being a whole founder of a whole company, learning about AI, and still undertaking a law degree. So, all the best. We're wishing you all the best in your endeavors, in your journey, in the entrepreneurship journey. Asante sana. And ladies and gentlemen, I wish you God's blessings, your families, this country, our great Kajiado. Let's keep soaring. Let's keep growing together. Looking forward to having you in our next session next Wednesday, same time, same place. Asanteni sana. God bless you. Have a lovely night. Asanteni sana.